All right, so guys, this is page 3. So of your unit review for unit 3. Okay, so remember for each of these 3 situations here, they're different. So one of them you have a plus in between the parentheses. One of them there's a minus, and one of them there's nothing in between. Okay, if you have just a plus in between, I can basically just rewrite these terms without the parentheses. And all I'm doing here is I'm going to end up adding and subtracting. So here, since this is a plus and a minus, I'll just write minus 2x and then plus 4. And then what I want to do is just basically combine the like terms. So we have 8x minus 2x, that'll be 6x. And then we've got negative 1 plus 4, which will be plus 3. Okay, so it just ends up being 6x plus 3. I don't have to do anything further after that. I just leave it as 6x plus 3. Okay, this one, if there's minus in the middle, what do we do with this one? Yep, so we distribute the minus, or really it's a minus 1 that I'm multiplying basically. Okay, so that becomes x plus 3. That doesn't change, but then this becomes minus 4x, and negative times negative will be plus 9. Okay, so same thing, combine the like terms. Now remember that's going to be basically a 1, so 1x minus 4x, negative 3x. And then 3 plus 9 will be positive 12. Okay. Now, again, if there's nothing in between, you know you're going to multiply. And you can see I already set up a box. So it's kind of a clue and hint to let you know, okay, hey, we're going to do multiplication. So remember, the left, I take one set of parentheses that goes on one side. So 2x and plus 7. This is a lot like what we did on the second page. Okay. And then x and minus 4. Okay, so now 2x minus, or times x, remember multiplying.
2x squared.
Good, 2x squared. Then 2x times negative 4. Negative 8x. And then x times 7. And then the last one, 7 times negative 4. All right, and then what's the first one we write? 2x squared. And then we combine the 7x minus 8x, which would be negative 1x. So 7 minus 8. And then the last term, negative 28. Okay. Now in the test, or like you could see on the last page, that's labeled as the product. So when we went over that early in the last video, again, the product is the same thing as this part when you write out the answer. Okay. Let me zoom out a little bit so you guys can see both. All right. So now the next step, we're basically taking these numbers, we're plugging them in, and because the letters are right next to each other, that means you're going to multiply, hence why I wrote out those parentheses. So what would be the first number I'd write here? Negative 6. And if it's C, negative 3, then what? 4. And for D, negative 5. Okay, now I multiply these two first. So negative 3 times negative 6, positive 18. And then 4 times minus 5, be negative 20. So essentially, if it's 18 and a negative 20, I should actually bring this over here. This would be minus 20 like that. And then 18 minus 20, negative 2. Okay. Now this one, you're looking for the slope, and you can see I've already got the table set up. So it's negative 4 over 6. And then the x value for the second one is 0 over the minus 4. And then what I'm looking for is the change in y and the change in x. If I go from 4 to minus 4, that's going down negative 8. And I'm going from negative 6 up to 0, plus 6. And then which one goes on top? Negative 8. And then over the 6. And then I can divide both of these by what? Divide by 2. If I divide negative 8 by 2, I get negative 4. And if I divide 6 by 2, I get 3. Okay, and again, just a reminder that your calculator can help you out with that. If I do -8 divided by 6, that will help me reduce it. So you could do that on there as well. Okay, so now you got to graph a line. Where do I start at? Which number? The 3. So I go up to 3 right there. That's the first part. So the 3 is the y-intercept. And then -1 is the slope. So if it's -1, that means we're going where? Down 1, then right 1. So down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And you can see I just kind of go down 1 and over. And then that's it. That's enough. And then I complete my line. Okay, with arrows on the ends. Okay. All right, now this one we're going to be solving an equation, and this one think of is a lot like what we did up here, where we're combining like terms first as the first step. So here we combine 4x and 9x first. So 4x minus 9x would be -5x, and I bring down the 4, and I bring down the rest of it. And now it's a lot like that other problem we just did a minute ago on the second, I think on the second page. This one is pretty much that same problem now where I'm going to add the 7. Okay. And if you watch the other video, I've got the actual details in there. Okay, so here with the 4, would I add or subtract? Subtract. Okay, because it's opposites. So then also 14 minus 4. And then with the x, which again is -1, I'm adding that. So adding 1x to both sides. And let me zoom in here so we can see this part a little bit better. Okay, so now 4 minus 4 cancels. -1 plus 1 cancels. And then I just have -5x plus 1. That's -4x. And then 14 minus 4. That's 10. And now I divide both sides by -4. And then just like I did with the slope, I can't divide that, but I can reduce it by dividing both of these by what? By 2. So 10 divided by 2, 5, and then 4 divided by 2, 2, and then I write the negative off to the side here. Okay, you can write it off to the side or write it on the 5. You usually don't write it on the bottom number. If you do leave it on the bottom number, it's not the biggest deal. I'm not going to mark you down for it. Okay. All right, so now this one, we actually are not just looking for the slope. We're looking for the equation. So we need to find the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, so let's start with the slope. If I'm going from one number to the next, what's happening here? No. -3. Okay, and then on the top, we're going by just +1. Okay, so that means it's going to be -3 over 1, which is pretty much just -3. Okay, and then which number is the b? The 1. And what part of that tells us it's the b? The 0. Once you find that 0, x equals 0, you know that's the b. So that's my y-intercept. And I start every equation with y equals, what goes next? The -3. What do I put right after the 3? X, and then +1. Okay, so that's just kind of review from like the last chapter. All right, now this one, we're simplifying. Okay, I want to do one thing at a time. So what would I do first here? Think PEMDAS. Okay. Okay, so parentheses, the P not only stands for parentheses, it stands for anything that's like closed. So parentheses, bars, a square root, anything that's inside of something, I need to do that first. So that means these two numbers inside of the square root, I want to add those together. So -4 plus 68, that's 64. Okay. And then I can also work on some of this other stuff here. I can do 3 squared, which is 3 times 3, 9. And then speaking of absolute value, these two numbers are inside those two bars there. So I can do -1 minus 2. which is -3. Okay, now, again, the bars in absolute value and the square root have to be done first. That kind of falls in the category of the parentheses here. Okay, so square root of 64, or what number do I multiply twice to get that? Anybody know that one? What times what equals 64? 8. Okay, then plus 9, that doesn't change. And then anything that goes inside the absolute value becomes what? Positive or negative? Positive. So that becomes +3, but I still have a negative on the outside. So I still have to bring that negative down, or the minus. Now it's just add and subtract. 8 plus 9, 17, minus 3, 14. So you had to work out kind of one thing at a time. If it's inside a square root, do that first. It's inside bars, do that first. Anything that's inside the bar becomes positive. But again, the sign outside still stays there, so I got to keep that and then add and subtract. Okay, so that's page 3. That's the rest of the review. If you guys need to go back and refer to the other pages, just click on the videos and see what we're doing. All right, that's it.